perhaps a teacher leader and you're moving into a school leader role or a manager role. So thanks so much for tuning in. Let me make sure I do my recap. Didn't do that. Hello everyone, thanks so much for tuning into my channel this week. I'm so excited to see you. This week I'm going to kind of delve into a big lesson that I learned from my shift in my career this year. So many of you know that this was a year where I shifted like out of the classroom and into more of a leader position, and so I definitely learned a lot of things. I know there are lots of people who are going to be in this position, who may be in this position this year, who will probably benefit from just learning from some of the mistakes that I made, or just some of the big ahas that I had. Now, before I move any further, you know what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm gonna do. If you like this video, please be sure to click like. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to get updates whenever I post new content, please be sure to bell me wherever the bell is. Click it. And if you're interested in reading the blog for this particular video, or if you're interested in contacting me, you can always check out my website at www.shikahenley.com. Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous video, I've just been gone, right? I have not been able to record videos, and so lots of things have happened. So one of the big things was, of course, I was in grad school, and yay, I have officially finished my last course. So now I'm just in dissertation land. But I also accepted a new position, and in this position, I was transitioning out of a teacher leader role and into more of just a legitimate, just like a leader position, right? I refrained from saying school leader because I wasn't the school leader, but I definitely had one of those roles as on leadership in my school. And it was definitely a huge learning curve for me. It was something that I definitely didn't expect some of the things that happened, or some of the ways that I would necessarily be received. And so what I really wanted to do was just talk about those big differences between being more of an informal leader and then transitioning to more formal leader role. So if you are someone who has made that move, and maybe you were a department chair last year and now you're an AP this year, maybe you've just been promoted to assistant manager or manager, just to kind of think about, just to give you something to think about rather in that transition, so you can just kind of learn from things that I've learned as I've transitioned over, and now I'm using those things moving forward in this new school year. So just stay tuned. Okay, number one. So one of the big things that I highlighted when I was kind of thinking about the difference between a teacher leader and a school leader or a manager role is how you actually get that particular role. So if you are a school leader, that means you've kind of been placed in that role. And in some cases, like you might have an LSC, a school council, or something of that nature that kind of helps to place you in that role. But we've all been in that position. School leaders kind of rotate in and out, and so you kind of have some feedback into that, but you don't necessarily always have feedback into that. And so that makes a difference in how people just perceive you. If you just kind of show up like, I've been selected to do this, to make these changes and to implement all of these stuffs, that can be tricky. But as a teacher leader, you are kind of appointed. Maybe you've applied for your department chair position, or maybe your school leader has selected you for it, or even your colleagues may have really just kind of pushed you up into that role. So the way that you receive the role is a little bit different. So number two, the biggest difference that I noticed was power, and how power works in those two dynamics. And I know when people hear the word power, it makes them feel like, "Urgh." But I mean, it is what it is. The word power is the word power. So we think about like school leaders and how they get their power. It kind of just comes with the role. You gotta just show up like, I'm a school leader or manager, and they give you a box. And it's like, okay, in your box you have you have power here, so now you have power to do all kinds of things. Like, it just comes with the job, right? But if you're a teacher leader, your power, you've earned it because you have done something just completely awesome. Like, you have levitated in the classroom. You've just proved that you are trustworthy, that you are awesome. And so your colleagues kind of bestow that power to you because they think that you're awesome. They're like, yo, you really did a good job at this. You really supported me through this. So I'm down for what you're saying. I'm listening to what you're saying. And they just kind of they rally around you because of that. And like I said, as a school leader or a manager, when you're placed there, you just get power with the role. It just comes with the role in your box of items that you show up with, right? When you just show up for the position. And so that power creates a weird dynamic between you and then any of your direct reports, because they just kind of, you just have that assumed power. And so people will, sometimes they'll do things that you say just because, you know, it's a directive, it has to be done, as opposed to this is something I really believe in, and I really want to do. So the third thing that we're moving into is actually relationships, and how that dynamic plays in being a teacher leader versus being a manager or school leader. So one of the things that I definitely thought as I came across, like I was all about relationships, building relationships with people, cultivating those, because that was something that I used as leverage as a teacher leader. I felt like I built really good relationships with my colleagues, and as a result, you know, it was like, okay, they knew me, they knew where I was coming from, and they kind of understood if I would ask them something, or you know, if something really needed to be done. However, as a school leader, you build your relationships with people differently. You build your relationships with people by proving that you have expertise in something. Like you're like, yo, I have a proven record of XYZ, and you can just come in and you're really aggressive about it, and you can really prove that's something that you've done. But another thing that you also have to do is it's also like shared decision making. So you can't just say, oh, I've gotten my box of power and everything I say goes. It has to be like, I've gotten my box of power, I recognize I have my box of power, but I still need everybody else's feedback so that I can make decisions. And I'll make decisions that needs to be made if it's necessary, if we can't reach a consensus for whatever reason and it's holding us back. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm still taking I know I have this power, but I'm not abusing the fact that I have it, and I want everybody else to kind of be involved in that. But like I said, it's a little bit different as a teacher leader. You being a teacher leader is built so much on your relationships with your colleagues. It is the fact that you're somebody who's trustworthy, who talks to them all the time, who knows what's going on with them. Like, those relationships is at the core of being a teacher leader. And so that was definitely a thing I had to learn. Like, how I built relationships as a manager was different from how I build relationships as a teacher leader. So again, I noticed as a teacher leader, I built my relationships because I made sure I connected with people, but the relationships I built as a manager, school leader, was different. It was really based on the kind of expertise and the kind of decision making processes that I made, so that people would trust me and they would say, okay, this is someone, you know, I can definitely respect and I can follow. Hello everyone, and now it is recap time. This video was supposed to be short, but I just kind of feel like it wasn't. So I will just go. I highlighted 3 key things that were differences I noticed from being a teacher leader and transitioning into more of a school leader manager position. The first one has everything to do with how you acquire your role. So as a teacher leader, you are kind of placed in the role. It's almost like everyone like comes together and they're like, yes, we think that you are awesome, you've done all of these things, we really want you in this place. Or the principal or someone's like, yes, you're awesome, let's put you in this place. And as a school leader or a manager, sometimes you're voting in. Like, I've been in positions as a teacher where we voted for our principals, we were part of that process. And then I've definitely been in a position where you show up to work on a Monday and it's a totally new person there, and you're just like, okay, I guess that's what we do here, so okay. But that's really your big difference. Like, sometimes it happens as teacher leaders, but usually teacher leaders kind of have to prove themselves and prove their worth in order to get that role. Not saying that managers don't, but you get where I'm going with that, okay? The next thing, so power. So teacher leaders have kind of earned their power by just demonstrating that they're just awesome, that they can levitate, they're amazing. The colleagues are like, yes, we are gonna give you we're gonna give you this power because you've proven that you deserve this power. But when you're in a leader position, you get power with your package. Just like, here's your power, use it for good. You know, and you have to really figure out what to do with that, because it creates a weird dynamic, right, with your relationships with your direct reports and then the manager. And then the third thing is relationship building, how you build relationships. As a teacher leader, you do a lot of your relationship building by really just kind of getting to know people and how's it going, and you know what, how'd this go, okay, let me listen to what's going on here, and that's that's where that comes into play. And it's not to say that as a school leader you don't do those things and you don't care about those things, but as a leader, a formal leader, a lot of those relationships comes from you being able to just demonstrate expertise in something, and to demonstrate that you know how to make fair decisions, and you know how to involve people in decisions, and you know when to just decide something because other people can't necessarily make that decision for you. And so like I said, like, these are things that I've just learned this year, and they're definitely things I'm taking with me as I move into my next year, as things that I've learned. And I'm like, okay, now I know how to do things differently. I know how to approach things differently. And I just hope this is helpful if you found yourself in a position where you're transitioning from a role of perhaps a teacher leader and you're moving into a school leader role or a manager role. So thanks so much for tuning in for this week's video. If you like this video, please be sure to click like. If you have not already done so, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if you want to get updates every time I post new content, please be sure to click that bell wherever it is. If you want to read the blog for this particular video, or if you would like to contact me, you can check that out on my website at www.shikahenley.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time.